All right, let's go a different direction. This is really good insight on the buyer side. A modernist approach to LPMAMA. For the person that doesn't know what LPMAMA is, what is LPMAMA?
So LPMAMA is an acronym for our industry,
Yes.
which I'd love to know who created this. Do you know who created this?
I have no idea.
Oh, what a wild thing, right? Location, price, motivation, agent, mortgage, appointment. I like to make it plural and put an S on the end of it and add source.
Yeah.
So if you break down these things, I don't want to say most people, but a lot of people, especially if you're in any type of furthering your education from a sales perspective in real estate, you've heard of LPMAMA.
Yeah.
But what I find is that people, it's one of those things that you learn in the classroom, but you don't actually apply.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so years ago, I decided, I was like, this is great, but how do we make people apply it out in the field, right?
Yep.
So we created some tactics to it, and I'm going to fly through it for time's sake,
Let's
right?
go.
So location. First thing is pain versus pleasure, right?
Yep.
So we all ask our clients, where do you want to live?
Yeah.
And, I'm in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I love it when I hear, we're looking somewhere, Tennessee, Carolinas, Alabama, maybe Georgia. And you're like, great.
You might want to narrow down a state before we start talking subdivisions.
And,
yes.
and especially in today's time, it's like everybody's moving from somewhere else in the country, so therefore they don't know, right? But still, as you get in that conversation, pleasure versus pain. First, ask that question of where do they want to be. That's usually the subsurface answer. You got to get. That's the surface answer.
Yes.
We got to get to the subsurface answer.
Yeah.
So you got to ask the pain question. Okay, where specifically do you not want to be?
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, it's like, anywhere in Chattanooga is where they want to be. Where do you not want to be? Well, like, I want to be in this location, this location, this location. I actually would really like to be in this location.
Yeah.
So they usually will peel back the layers when you go for the pain question, because people want to stay away from pain, right?
Right.
So simple enough, right? Pain versus pleasure.
Easy.
Next one is price. So I call this push the limits and create safety, and then create clarity. Push the limits followed by safety and clarity being created. So too often agents will ask, what is your price point, right? Or what price point are we looking in? If I were to ask you, Tom, what price are we looking in Chattanooga, Tennessee, what might you say?
Somewhere between $1 million and $5 million.
So
because I don't know the market
you're
at all.
the rarity that just gave me a range.
Yeah.
No.
Most people really will say like.
Most people will
X.
say, I'm looking around $1 million.
Yeah.
Or I'm looking around 500 or whatever, 500,000, whatever it may be.
I think of every portal I've ever been on that always goes low to high.
Yeah.
Right?
When you go onto any website, you plug in 2 numbers.
Yeah.
So and body language matters.
Right.
So Tom. Tell me the range that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Make very clear questions.
Yeah,
What is the range you're looking for? So when you go online and you put in the bottom price and the top price, what are those 2 numbers?
$1 million to $1.2 million.
$1 million to $1.2 million. Okay. So the next step I've got to do is I got to create some safety here because I want you to trust me.
Yeah.
Okay. So $1 million to $1.2 million. So one of the mistakes that I learned early in my career is that I would take that for face value. And then later you might call me up and say, hey, what about this house? Why didn't you send it to me?
Right.
And it's not between that range,
Yeah.
right? So I want to start out in the beginning. I'm telling the story to the client.
Yes.
I want you to know, I don't want you to be another case like that. So if you change your price point, will you let me know?
Sure.
Okay, cool. So I also want to do you a favor. You said $1 million to $1.2 million. For some reason, people still like price things with 9s. Can we start the search at $9.99?
Yep.
How do you feel as a consumer when I ask you that?
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
It sounds like you might get me a few more properties to look at would be my guess.
Right. And I'm not right now. Everybody's saying, "Oh, good luck trying to find it in that price point."
Right. Right.
So I go low first to create some safety because they're like, "Oh, wow, this person's actually going to help me find something, maybe a deal." After I create safety, then I want to create clarity on the high. Okay. So 1.2. I just want to make sure that if I happen to find something that's say $50,000 over that, do you want to know about it, or would I be teasing you if it was absolutely perfect?
No, I'd absolutely want to know. I'd love that.
Oh, you would.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what about? Should we just say 1.3? How would you feel about 1.3?
1.3 might be pushing it.
Okay, so we're somewhere in that range. We're going to solidify that, right? And then again, I'm going to repeat it at the end. If anything changes, will you let me know?
Yep.
Okay.
I love the go low safety and then pushing the limits.
High
Exactly
for
as
clarity,
you said,
because
for
at the end of the day,
Yep.
if they're just getting started, they're probably going to push their price point,
Right.
And so we want to create that clarity,
Good.
right? So price makes
Yep.
sense. Location, price, motivation. This one's pretty simple. Ask really broad questions, and then follow it with mirroring and or tell me more about that, right? Too often we ask people, why do they want to move? Why do you want to move? That's a very defensive question, and a lot of times people are moving for not the best reasons.
Right.
Divorce, death, hate their neighbors, can't afford the payment, know. So a better question might be, like, future sell them. Once you have found your perfect dream home, what might this do for you and your family? And they're going to start talking about positive things, right?
Yeah.
And they may just say, hey, we'll have more space. More space? A little bit of mirroring.
Yeah.
And they're, well, actually, we live in this size house, and we'd like to have this size house. And so that mirroring will sometimes unpeel some layers, and then tell me more about that. That's what I say every day of my life when I don't know what to say.
Right.
Like, I might have just zoned off and not have listened, and they ask me a question. Well,
tell me more about
that, right?
with motivation, couldn't you also ask, like, what's important to you? Like, what's important to you guys in this new home? Right?
Absolutely.
Then they'll open up and they'll tell you, all kinds of value, related answers.
But I think if you start really broad in the beginning, like, once you found this perfect home, what will this have done for you, right? I don't know if that's grammatically correct, but I'm from Tennessee.
I'm going to go with your answer, since your salespeople are selling 42 homes on average.
It works. It works.
So motivation, check.
Yep. Agent. So agent, I think this is a question that a lot of people are scared to ask because they don't want to know the answer, right? They just hope for the best.
Yeah.
And it's really important, but we got to figure out a soft way to get into it, because the old saying, buyers are liars. If you ask anybody something that an easy out for them to get out of the conversation could be a lie, let's just not set them up for that.
Yeah.
And so I like to ask the question. So up until now, before we've met, I'm going to make an assumption. You've probably looked at some houses already. Tell me about the houses that you've looked at, even if you don't like them, so I can get an idea of what you looked at and then what changed.
Yeah.
If they say, this is the first house I've ever looked at, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm moving on.
Yeah.
Right?
Got it.
But if they say, well, I actually saw this house down the road and we lost it because whatever. Oh, okay. Awesome. So when you looked at that house, I'm assuming there was an agent there. Did you happen to hire them? Just very direct.
Yeah.
Very direct. Did you happen to hire them?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I didn't hire them. But yes, maybe if you're an open house.
Yeah.
But they are my agent, though. They're my guy.
Yeah.
They're my gal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The follow-up to that is, oh, okay, that's great. And who's that, by the way? Because you want to know who your competition is. Okay, it's Katie. Awesome. So when I happen to find another house, if this isn't the one that I think might fit you, should I send that to Katie or should I send that directly to you?
Yeah.
And I like to work by text. So what's the best number to text you at?
Yeah.
And I've found that group text work best when, because I don't want to leave your wife out. What's her number?
Yeah.
And so that tends to open up all sorts of answers,
yeah.
right? And if they say no, or if they say, I actually have hired another agent, then we respect that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so agent, check.
Yeah. So mortgage, stack the cool twice.
Yep.
Okay. So I
love that you just have all these, like, stack the cool,
I've been doing this for so
safety,
long.
Right?
Yeah. And this is
the modernist approach to LPMAMA. I love it.
Yeah, that's worked for a while.
Yes.
And so stack the cool twice when it comes to mortgage. So I was just talking to a team the other day about this, and they were like, well, when we talk price, what is that where we're going to mortgage? And I'm like, no, the customer needs to be heard.
Right.
If you start beating them down, they're going to stop talking.
Yep.
So just hear what they have to say, even if it just sounds outrageous, but when we get to mortgage, and by the way, none of this has to be done in this order.
No.
Just a heads up on that. But when it comes to mortgage, though, stack the cool twice. This is where you get to educate the consumer. Let them know, like right out the gate. First, stack the cool is everything that we do, right? By saying, hey, most people think we just open up doors and collect big checks. But as we start to work together, I want you to know all the things that I'm responsible for, from finding you the home to negotiating for you, explaining the contracts, communicating, being air traffic control. Yep. And I'm going to cut it short for time's sake here, but you stack the cool of all the things that you do.
Here's my value.
Right.
Yep.
And then one really important thing that I help my consumers with is the mortgage side of it. Should you pay cash? Should you get mortgage? Should you do a government-backed loan or should you do a conventional loan? Should you do private funding sometimes now these days?
Yeah.
Like there's all these different things, but then it's like, what is should we go with the online lender? Should we go with the local lender? I'm stacking the cool of all the different scenarios of mortgage, from appraisals to processors to, is your loan officer against you or with you? What's a credit report look like, and how does that affect you? And at the end, I end with, I know I'm rambling here a little bit, but are there any specific questions about mortgage that I can make sure I guide you down the right path?
Yeah.
And after you've explained all your value and you stack the cool twice, they're usually like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize there were so many directions to go.
And
what should I do?
Right.
And then now we get to guide them to the lender that we think is going to be best for them, and in today's market, also respected in our local industry, so the offer gets accepted.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So stack the cool twice and then end with, what gaps might I fill for you about mortgage? Because their question just may be, well, my credit score's here, and I'm not sure if that's good enough to buy or not, right? Mm-hmm. Or they may say, well, how much money do I have to put down? Mm-hmm. And now you're just in this wonderful conversation that they're now trusting you.
Yes.
Versus, are you paying cash or are you getting a mortgage?
Yeah.
That can be very offensive to some people.
Right. People want to get to like, hey, I want to keep my payments at this range. What do I need to do? Right. Like, especially for first-time buyers, right?
Yeah.
You two are buying a house soon. Yeah. Just following up on
Love
that.
It.
I follow up on it all the time. Okay, so we got mortgage.
Yeah. So next one is appointment.
Yeah.
Appointment's simple. It's choice questions with sense of urgency.
Yeah.
Right. And every time you meet with the client, by the way, you should have, if you don't have this memorized, mm-hmm. which you probably won't for a while until you actually practice it and put it into play. Yeah. You should literally be like the police officer where they pour the little pad out when they did an accident, and you should pull out the little pad and say, hey, one of the things that keeps us in line is making sure that just a couple really important things. Oh, you should probably take that call.
Yes. Sorry, in the middle of the show, my son calling.
Yeah. I'm like, wait, is that me?
No editing.
No editing at all. But appointment, though, I know what I was saying. You pull out the pad and you say, hey, so I stay on track. I don't want to let you down. And these are the few things that I need to make sure we've covered. We've covered this, we've covered that, we've covered that. I'm clear on all these things. This next one is appointment. This doesn't mean that we have to meet face to face, but when are we going to touch base again, right? Or when are we going to meet again, or whatever it may be. Yep. But make sure
when are you in town again, or whatever it may be, right?
Yeah, and you got to be really clear with choice questions, though.
Yes.
They have to truly be a choice. Don't say, does Wednesday or Thursday work?
Yeah.
Because that's a yes or no question.
Yeah.
Would Wednesday work, or would Thursday be better? But don't forget sense of urgency, especially in this market.
Bingo.
Yeah. So
love it. And then you added the bonus S.
Last one is source, right? Yeah. So there's an influential real estate guy that you and I both know in Southern California, and I remember seeing a post he made one time. He said, I referred out a client. I did not ask for a referral, mm-hmm. and they bought a $7 million house, mm-hmm. and I never heard from them. I never heard a thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't get a card.
Yeah.
And it's not that person was expecting anything, but at the same time, they're probably not going to send them another referral.
Bingo.
Right? And so when I say source, it's either measurement or love on that source, right? Yeah. Know if it makes sense for where you're getting that business from a measurement standpoint, but really most importantly, so much of our business is referrals from our clients, from other agents, and what are you doing to love on those people when they when they do it, you know? And so I remember one Facebook post came out and they were like, I need an agent in Chattanooga, and I was one of the many agents that were in there, and I won the Facebook competition of who the agent was, and I went onto that thread and I said, hey, thank you so much for it was a local person that I didn't know, and I was like, hey, what's your favorite restaurant? I'm shooting you a gift card right now.
Right.
And then guess what? Someone else saw that like 2 months later and called me up and they said, hey, I heard you give out gift cards for buyers. And I was like, sure. And where do you like to eat?
Yes.
And so you make sure you love on the source.
Yeah. I love it. I
so
love it.
There's my tactics.
Man, we unpacked a lot in a very short amount of time, Doug. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Confidence and conversion. Make sure you follow Doug on Instagram and every place else. And I have to say, like, somewhere between like Mr. Rogers, I'm just thinking like the tone that I hear. It's so soothing to hear you just talk and train this way.
I've never heard that one before, but I
meant
appreciate
that in
it,
the most love and respect. Just in case
Won't
you're wondering.
you be my neighbor?
Well, that's exactly right. Like, let me show you LPMAMA, right? Like, that's exactly what I was feeling. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you practice this, watch this over and over again, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And Doug, thank you.
Thank you.